There was a single moment in human history when one of your ancestors looked up at the sky, watched someone they loved stop breathing, and understood for the very first time that the same thing was coming for them. Not as a fear, not as a concept, as a certainty. And that one moment, that one horrible, silent realization may be the reason civilization exists at all. Every animal on this planet dies. Wolves die, elephants die, bacteria die. But here's what's absolutely extraordinary. Almost nothing on Earth knows that it's going to die. A deer grazing in a field doesn't lie awake at night thinking about its own end. A shark doesn't feel dread when it gets old. They have no concept of a future self, and therefore no concept of that future self ceasing to exist. But somewhere between 40,000 and 100,000 years ago, something cracked open inside the human mind. A new kind of thought formed, one that had never existed anywhere in the known universe. I am going to die. Not this hurts, not danger is near, but a cold, forward-thinking, abstract understanding of personal mortality. And the moment that thought fully arrived, it changed everything. The way we love, the way we build, the way we fight, the way we pray. You are living inside the echo of that moment right now. For most of human prehistory, our ancestors were cognitively similar to other animals, capable, clever, but not yet conscious of time the way we are. Then, something happened in the brain. Neuroscientists call it autobiographical memory, the ability to mentally travel through time, to remember your past self, to imagine your future self. And at some point, a prehistoric human used that ability and projected forward far enough to see the edge. The first evidence we have? Burial sites. Around 100,000 years ago, in a cave in modern-day Israel called Kafze, archaeologists found something that stopped them cold. A young woman and a child buried together, with seashells placed carefully around them. No practical reason for those shells, no survival advantage in arranging a body with care. This was grief. This was ritual. This was a species that understood death well enough to mourn it. But here's where it gets even deeper. The Neanderthals, our closest evolutionary relatives, flowers placed on graves in Shanidar Cave in Iraq, ochre-painted bones, objects left with the dead. These weren't accidents. These were responses to awareness, to the terrible knowledge that the person in front of you was gone, and that one day someone would stand over you with the same hollow feeling in their chest. And so the human mind did what it always does when it encounters something unbearable. It started building stories around it. Here's the part nobody talks about in history class. The psychologist Ernest Becker spent his entire career studying one question. What does death awareness do to human beings? His answer, published in a book called The Denial of Death, won the Pulitzer Prize in 1974 and quietly rewired the way scientists think about civilization itself. Becker's conclusion was staggering. He argued that almost everything humans build, religion, culture, art, war, legacy, the obsession with fame, is at its core a psychological defense mechanism against the terror of knowing we will die. We build pyramids to outlast our bodies. We have children to extend ourselves into the future. We go to war to feel like we're part of something that won't disappear. We worship gods who offer eternity. We carve our names into stone. All of it. A species screaming into the void. I was here. I mattered. I am not nothing. And the science backs this up in ways that are genuinely unsettling. In a series of experiments known as terror management theory, researchers found that simply reminding people of their own death caused measurable changes in behavior. People became more nationalistic, more aggressive toward outsiders, more clinging to their beliefs, more generous to those in their in-group, and crueler to those outside of it. Think about that. The awareness of death doesn't just make us sad. It shapes our politics. It shapes our wars. It shapes who we love and who we fear. We have been running from this knowledge for 100,000 years, and it has been steering us the entire time. Now here's the thought that should genuinely stop you for a second. Every other species on Earth experiences death, but no species on Earth has ever had to live with the knowledge of its own death the way humans do. We are the only beings who wake up every morning carrying this awareness like a weight we never put down. And instead of being destroyed by it, we built the entire world. The Sistine Chapel, the Great Wall, every symphony ever written, every prayer ever whispered in the dark, every parent who stayed up all night to protect a child, every scientist who dedicated their life to curing a disease they would never personally suffer from. All of it traces back to that one prehistoric moment, that first human who stared into the void and felt it stare back. Some anthropologists believe that death awareness is the single greatest driver of human achievement. Not intelligence, not language, not opposable thumbs, the knowledge that we are temporary. Because when you know your time is limited, time becomes precious. And when time becomes precious, you build things that last. So the next time you stand in front of something beautiful, a painting, a cathedral, a song that breaks your heart, understand what you're really looking at. You're looking at a message in a bottle, thrown into the ocean of time by someone who knew they would disappear and refused to disappear quietly. Every human achievement is, in some way, a response to that moment 100,000 years ago. That crack in the prehistoric mind, that first, terrible, magnificent thought. I am going to die. And what we've done with that knowledge, what we've built with that fear, is the most extraordinary thing this universe has ever produced. The question isn't whether you've thought about your own death. The question is, what are you going to do with the time you have left?